Shabbat Shalom. We are beginning our study on the Church of Smyrna. We are in the process of going verse by verse through the book of the Revelation, and today we'll look at the introduction to the Church of Smyrna. There are some archaeological ruins in the city of Izmir, which is built upon the old city of Smyrna. There's not much of an area to visit, but what is there is well worth a visit. There is a large Agora, which has been excavated. And when you come to the site, you will see several columns that have been risen again in the original position right next to the Agora. And as you can see from these photographs, right next to the archaeological ruins are modern apartments and businesses, and they're laying over the ruins of ancient Smyrna. For some reasons, the residents and the business owners don't want to have their homes demolished, so archaeologists can dig up the ruins of the ancient city of Smyrna. Well, I don't blame the businesses and residentials for not wanting that to happen. But when we take a look at the Agora, it's a couple of blocks in area. And when you look at it, you come away with the opinion that in its prime, the Agora or mall at Smyrna could have rivaled even the West Edmonton Mall. There, you can go down into the ruins of the Agora. We'll just take a couple of minutes that you can take a look at the slides that show you the maze that can be found in the ancient ruins. I think it would be a great place to play paintball, although I think the archaeologists may get a little upset if you damage the ruins with a bunch of paint. But it would be a great place to play paintball, all sorts of aisles and hidden passages. And I spent a good deal of time exploring the Agora. But before we left Smyrna, our tour guide told us about some ancient tombs, some caskets and tombstones to the side of the Agora. And I went to explore it. And here you see a picture of a casket, obviously Jewish. It's got a Star of David on it. But if you look at the tombstone, it doesn't have Hebrew written on it, it's Arabic. I thought that was interesting. So when I approached our tour guide, I asked him why the Jewish symbols and Arabic writings, and our guide said these were the tombs of the followers of Shabbat Shalom. We'll come to that a little bit later on in this series when we take a look at the synagogue of Satan, as we look at the followers of Shabbat Shalom. Also in Smyrna is an ancient church. I'm not sure whether it's Catholic, Orthodox, or Coptic, but it's the traditional site of the burial of Polycarp, the disciple of John. You can go in there, and there is a great mosaic paintings on top of the roof. And the painting that I've taken a picture of is a depiction of Polycarp being martyred in the city of Smyrna. Now, the seven churches, I believe, represent the seven church ages of church history. Then Smyrna would represent the intense persecution poured out upon the church by the Roman Empire. There were 10 periods of intense Roman persecution from 100 to 313 AD. The first was by Nero, 64 to 68 AD. He killed Peter and Paul. Domitian, 81 to 96 AD, thought Christianity was atheistic, killed thousands of believers, and banished John to Patmos. Trajan, 98 to 117 AD, was the first to pass laws against Christianity, burned Ignatius at the stake. Pius, 137 to 161 AD, killed Polycarp, the disciple of John. Marcus Aurelius, 161 to 180 AD, thought Christianity observed superstition, beheaded the great writer and defender of the faith, Justin Martyr. Severus, 193 to 211, killed Origen's father. Number 7, Thracian, 235 to 238 AD, brutal barbarian, commanded all Christian leaders to die. Decius, 249 to 251 AD, determined to exterminate Christianity. Valerian, 253 to 260 AD, killed Cyprian, bishop of Carthage. And Diocletian, 284 to 305, the last and most severe persecution. For 10 years, believers were hunted in caves and forests. They were burnt, thrown to wild beasts, put to death by every torture cruelty could devise. But Diocletian's own wife and daughter accepted Christ. That's from Wilmington's Guide to the Bible. The Tim LaHaye Prophecy Study Bible says this: the name Smyrna refers to myrrh. The crushing process used to release its fragrance symbolizes the persecution of believers. The local church by that name and the church age it represents, the 2nd and 3rd centuries, were among the most persecuted in all church history. Roman dictators from Nero to Diocletian mounted various waves of persecution, using governmental power in their attempts to destroy the church. It is a miracle of God that the church not only survived that period, but it also thrived, grew, and spread across the Roman Empire. Just like a myrrh, when the church was crushed with trials, the fragrance of her faith is released. If the apparent crackdown on the modern church has become the new normal, then the instruction given to the Church of Smyrna will become very relevant to the remnant of Bible-believing churches living in the last days. The background for the Church of Smyrna, Revelation 1:11 and Revelation 2:8 are the only biblical references to the church in Smyrna. Therefore, we must rely totally on extra-biblical sources to understand the environment in which the church existed. In W.A. Criswell writes, Smyrna, modern Izmir, was the probable birthplace of Homer and possibly the most beautiful city in Asia. The famous Golden Street, which began at the seaside, ran upward, culminating on Mount Pagos. Along the way, one passed an imposing array of pagan temples to Cybele, Apollos, Aphrodite, and Zeus. Smyrna was the center of Caesar worship for Asia. And then David Levy, Revelation here in the last words, say this: Smyrna, only 35 miles from Ephesus, was a wealthy city that rivaled Ephesus in beauty and commerce. Smyrna was destroyed in the 7th century BC and rebuilt by Alexander the Great in the 3rd century BC. It was famous for its superb school of medicine. Scripture is silent on the establishment of a church at Smyrna, but was most likely begun by the Ephesian church. This is Larry Mitchell, Friends Friends of Israel. Shabbat Shalom.